Hi everyone, welcome to the visual guide for AAC Cruiserweight M4 Normal, also known as M8N. This is the first raid encounter made available by patch 7.2 in Final Fantasy XIV, Seekers of Eternity. If you find yourself baring your fangs at these mechanics and suffering under this wolf's reign, beckon over this guide to give you that tactical advantage. No need to let that moon haunt you. My name is Miztech and I'll be your raid guide. Extra planar pursuit will deal massive raid-wide damage. Shield and heal as necessary. Great Divide will target a tank with a 2-person stack line tank buster marker. Both tanks can stack together to share the incoming damage or use heavy cooldowns to solo it. The rest of the raid should make sure they're not standing behind the tanks during this time. Throughout the encounter, the boss can jump to the center and cast Wolf's Reign. A point-blank AoE circle and the image of 3 clones will appear around him. These clones will leap to the outer edge of the platform and create more AoE circles in those locations. All players will need to stand in the areas in between the projected direction of each clone to avoid getting hit. Immediately after, the boss will turn from the edge and cast a massive line attack through the center of the arena. All players must avoid this or they will die. This attack will send the boss to the opposite edge of the platform, where he will again turn around and cast a final Wolf's Reign frontal cone. This attack will deal massive damage and knock back anyone hit. To avoid this, players can start to move opposite the boss as soon as that previous line attack appears, allowing them to quickly adjust into the available safe area. This combo of Wolf's Reign mechanics will occur multiple times throughout the encounter, so be ready. Heaven's Earth will target a healer with the stack up marker. All players will need to stand with them to share the incoming damage. When the boss casts Beckon Moonlight, 4 clones will appear in sequence at each cardinal point around the platform. The clones will rush across the platform in the order that they appeared, cleaving the side of the room that their glowing sword is positioned on. To avoid getting hit, players will have to identify which side is safe for the first clone, and then rotate either clockwise or counterclockwise to avoid the remaining clones and their respective half-room cleaves. Shadow Chase will spawn another set of clones that will each throw out large line attacks directly in front of them. Players can stand behind a clone to avoid getting hit. Bare Fangs will spawn 2 sets of gleaming fangs in a line through the center of the platform. These fangs will explode in a line determined by the direction of their glow in the same order they appear, and players will need to move away from these lanes to avoid getting hit. As each fang resolves, circle attacks will appear under each player. Move away from these areas as necessary and be careful not to box yourself in. These mechanics will repeat until the boss leaps to the edge and casts Tactical Pack. The boss will become invulnerable and 2 wolf head adds will appear that can be picked up by the tanks. These adds must be destroyed before the boss charges to 100 gauge or you will die. During this time, players will be targeted by circle AoEs that should be spread to avoid overlapping. Each add will also throw out long line attacks in random directions, and healers can be targeted by these stack up markers. Stand together to share the incoming damage as you dodge everything else. Once the adds are down, the boss will deal massive raid-wide damage and destroy the outer edges of the platform, limiting the available platform and making it possible for players to now fall off. The boss also gains a buff that allows him to cast faster, and additional adds will appear during his regular mechanics. 2 wolf head adds will appear during Wolf's Reign combo, but players can dodge Wolf's Reign first before adjusting out of the way of the wolf heads. When the boss casts Terrestrial Titans, 3 giant pillars will appear around the platform. Clones will appear and cast Titanic Pursuit, dealing high raid-wide damage and slicing each pillar in a random direction. The pillars will then begin to fall based on how they were sliced, and players will need to move out of the way to avoid getting squished. There will always be a pillar that falls directly through the center, so players will need to find the formed safe areas on the outer edges of the platform. This will happen multiple times in a row, so watch your step. At this point, mechanics will begin to overlap with the addition of wolf head line attacks that must also be dodged. Tracking Tremors will target a healer for multiple hits, and the raid will have to stand with them to share the damage. Make sure to watch your feet throughout the rest of the encounter, and remember not to box yourself in with overlapping attacks. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Next week, we'll dive into the savage versions of these fights. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time.